Well, coasters in Greymouth today, and I'm on the fishing vessel Tania, and I've got the pleasure to have a chat with Allan Rooney. Now, he's pretty well known, as you've probably all worked out. Now, Allan, thanks very much for having a chat with us. You've been a fisherman for a long time.
Yes, part-time since '74. I was a lineman in the P&T, and I left the P&T and full-time in '85. And went on the recovery with my brother-in-law,
Right.
chasing orange roughy.
And we're based out of Greymouth?
Nelson and Greymouth.
Wow.
And he sold that and built the Ocean Ranger. And then I just carried on working on the Corsair for West Bay Seafoods.
Yes.
And the Honeydew for a year for Calvin Fawcett. He went to Aussie for 3 weeks and just didn't come back for quite a while.
must have found a woman over there.
No, he just thought the boat was going all right, there's no panic.
Oh, gotcha.
And then I bought the Robert H and had that for 19 years and ended up going around Littleton. We had some issues getting extra quota for it, so ended up around Littleton for a few years and then come home.
So you're a coast boy?
Yep.
What'd your mum and dad do?
Dad was a miner,
Right.
Strongman, and then he left the mine 2 years after the explosion.
68?
Yeah, he left about 70, I think, and went to the P&T.
Right.
Because he had been a post boy or telegraph boy earlier on.
Yep.
Mum ran the Nibble Nook at the St James Picture Theatre.
Did she really?
Yeah.
I used to sell ice creams.
Yeah, so did I.
Yeah.
But I had to work at the Region.
Oh, God.
I wasn't allowed to work with Mum. Yeah, no, Mum was born in Reefton and the old man was Greymouth.
Right, and so big family, you got brothers and sisters?
No, I've got, what have I got? Jesus. 3 sisters and a brother. I had 2 sisters and me, and I went to Aussie for a holiday for a wee while, for 6 months, and I come home and Mum had twins and I was 20.
Oh, you're joking. Well, you know, twins they're good value. They're pretty good value.
Yeah.
And so what, was your dad ever involved in fishing?
No, he just mainly a miner and then the P&T.
Yeah. So what got you? So you were working at the P&T, and you know that used to be the place where you know, the postman and the P&T. That was a job for life.
Yeah.
What made you change?
I like fishing, and to be honest, when I was a bit younger, there was a particular senior sergeant in town who didn't particularly get on with me, and I didn't particularly get on with him. So I found it easier to work all my overtime in lieu, and on weekends if a boat was looking for someone, I'd go with him.
I'd keep you out of trouble.
So, well, keep out of his way.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Who were the sergeants back then? Because that must have been about, that'd be the 70s, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I can't remember who we had up in Westport.
Well, the one I didn't like and he didn't like me was Peoples.
Was that Pat Peoples? Well, of course, he came to Westport.
Yeah, well, I thought they were from Westport. I'm not sure. But
maybe it's the other way around. Maybe he come from Westport to here.
Yeah, and there was, oh, Christ, there was Carter, Sergeant Carter. There was Sergeant Oman, Sergeant Smith.
They were interesting times, weren't they? Because the policeman was almost part of the family. We all loved them and hated them, like we do with our brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And it's all just part of it. And so you started going out as, what is it, deckhand?
Yeah, just fill in for anyone that was short of a crew. So what I'd do is hopefully just have to have Friday off, because I'd work on my overtime in lieu.
Yep.
And then we got Friday, Saturday, Sunday at sea, and if they were in for Monday, I went back to work. So
on good boats?
I worked on most of them, and the wee old shitter next to us.
Yeah, I was just
in 1980, I worked that part-time for Brian Dash in 1980.
Wow.
Well, I shouldn't have said shitter. She's just a bit neglected, the old girl, really.
Is that one dead, or is it going to make it again?
The Kennedy boys said it'll make it again, but I seriously have my doubts.
Yeah.
I think the projected finish date on here would be the 12th of Never.
So when you started fishing in your own right, did you buy a boat? What was the first boat?
A wee baby one, a 28-footer and 34-footer, I think it was, about that. It was bloody small, called the Vestal.
Yeah.
And that was 1978. and I worked in the Damien Briggs's fish shop.
Okay.
I used to go out after work in the summer at 4 o'clock and be home at 8 o'clock, and he'd meet me at the wharf.
Yeah.
And then work weekends on that. And then I done a bit of part-time for Ian Boot on the Galaxy, Jimmy Moore, Southern Cloud. Who else?
These are all. I mean, Damien Briggs, famous sort of a name. He's not very well at the moment.
No.
But these are guys that have formed the industry, haven't they? They're the pioneers.
Yeah, well, Briggsy worked way back for Basil Piner on the Red Witch, and then I ended up running the Red Witch for 4 years for Basil Piner.
Oh, okay.
And then just bloody thinking, when I was on the recovery, we were doing roughie and making a few quid.
Yeah.
So I bought the Harvester as a backup in case my brother-in-law arseholed me. My brother-in-law was temperamental sort of a dude.
Well,
I wasn't sure how long I'd stand there. So I bought the Harvester as a backup.
Yeah.
And then sold the Harvester to the Sculls and Dunedin. And I still was on the course here. And when after I'd done a wee bit of time on the Honeydew for Calvin, I bought the Robert H. of Moana Pacific. And I had that 19 years, and that was a
good boat.
I wish I'd have never sold.
This how long have you owned the Tania?
About 5 years, I think.
And how long is it?
This is 46 foot.
46, and what sort of weight?
Oh, I think roughly 45 tonnes thereabouts.
Okay. Is she a good seaboat?
Yeah. You can't go too much up on the tonnage because your slippage bill goes higher.
Oh, I got you. So it's really it's about a 20 tonner.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm with you on this. So you must have met some characters over the years. Did you fish out of Jackson Bay ever?
Yeah, well, we used to unload and fish around the bay a bit. Yeah, no, it's certainly some characters in.
So you'd have met Merv and.
Oh, Merv, he's a character, all right. I know poor old Merv's dead now, but a word of warning was if anyone went down there, don't touch his own Bruins Bay one night pissed, and there was only one ditch to be lost.
He's a nice guy, wasn't he?
Yeah. Well, I worked part-time after school, school holidays in the sawmill when I was young, bloody stacking timber with Al Winstanley, and I knew Tony Valensky. He was up there, so
yeah.
I knew the Valenskys, and when I fixed the phones up there, the Valensky family were mainly Moana.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
so you'd have known them from a previous life.
Yeah, and Spacey and down there, and they're all characters. They were all hard cases down there.
And you've got Barn Bay Fishing down there.
Yeah, Jeff. Yeah,
Jeff Robinson. It's a big setup, isn't it?
Yeah, no, Jeff's done really well.
You know, it's a big setup,
and his boy's going really good for him.
Yeah.
You know? So no, Jeff's done really well. No, we knew lots of the guys down there.
Now, have you ever sunk a boat?
No, I can't swim.
Now, you know, I don't believe that there's ever been a boat sunk on the coast, because I've interviewed a lot of fishermen now, and there's no one that's ever sunk a boat. What do you reckon about that?
Oh, I don't know. I think the guy that got this built had a bit of bad luck just after this was launched with his other boat.
Right. Who built this one?
Service Rives.
Oh, and did he sink one after this one?
Oh, I don't know if he sunk it.
Well,
he just managed to sink down Milford Way.
Oh, the boat sunk by itself.
Yeah, the Muriel.
Oh,
I don't know what happened. They might have had a log or something. I don't know. I was a bit young.
Yeah. Now, Alan, what about you wander around the deck on one of these things, and the thing that fascinates me is like the rails are not that high. Do you ever have anyone fall over? You know, is it like it's?
No, but I mean, I have looked at putting a set of rails out here because you wander outside and have a pee, even though we've got a toilet and shower on here. But
yeah.
It's a bit of a funny one, that one, because you've got to get the rail right for your crew height.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
And it because it's not always smooth out at sea, is it?
No, it's not.
So, Alan, what do you fish for with the Tania?
Well, for 2 months of the year we do a bit of ling trawling in the 300 odd metres, 280, 300, and most of the time we sort of hover between 10 metres and 200, chasing Cherokee, Gurnet, If it's nice flat weather, going and chase soles and flounder.
And so that stuff is the stuff that ends up in the supermarkets and in the fish shops.
Yes, yeah. Delis at the moment, they sell a lot of our, like the terrakia and gurnet and flounder fresh. Sometimes the ling goes fresh, which is better money. Anything goes fresh is better dollars back to the boat.
Oh, so okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so the trick is to try, and I mean weather predominant here doesn't always work, because the trick is to try and unload by Wednesday. And that way they can, Wednesday or Saturday or Sunday's the time to unload, by Wednesday or Saturday or Sunday, so it'll be going the next fresh,
So when you go out over the Grey Bar, and I mean we've all seen videos of boats going over the Grey Bar, and they've followed, millions of people watch them. That's the reality. Do you ever go out in those conditions?
No, not on this thing, but in the old days with the Corsair and that, we were in the recovery, we were, I think we used to, on an 8-day bottom trip, I'm thinking back here, I left there in 1990, I think, the Corsair. I think we had 48 hours to turn around, and in the hokey season we had 24 hours to turn around, no matter the weather. So sometimes you'd have to punch out of here and go down to Jackson's Bay and sit there for a couple of days, big southwest, because on those size boats, if you got really a hell of a lot of rain and the river went and flood, you couldn't get out for maybe a week then,
Oh, so you take it out.
So you tried to beat that weather.
Yeah. So when you go out, do you know what you're fishing for? Does the Tallies or Westfleet say to you, look, we'd like some flounder?
No.
Or is it not like that?
No, not so much with Tallies. I think Westfleet with their shop and their markets, I think they're more shopping list orientated, which is fair enough because they get good bucks for their fish.
Yes.
They really do. So, no, I think Tallies will leave you alone in that respect, but the trick is to try and look after your fish, bring it home in really good nick, well iced, well washed, and so they, if you've got good product, they will try and move it fresh for you.
And the relationship between the fishermen and your Tallies or your Westfleets or your Naitahu is really important, isn't it?
Oh yeah, for real. I mean, at the end of the day, they have control of the quota. Not when the system came out it was meant to be like that, but that's how it is.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't want to burn too many bridges.
Well, it's like that in life, isn't it? You got to be a wee bit careful. Now, so tell me, you've got you go out, you do your fishing, you started as a deckhand.
Yep.
If there was a young fella out there now, because one of the problems that we're striking is getting people to come and become a deckhand.
That's right. Things are a bit namby-pamby now. I mean, when we started, these were guys that were brought up straight after the war, brought up hard that we started with, you know. Yeah, things are a bit more namby-pamby.
Are some of the kids just not as hard as they used to be?
Oh, no. I mean, they wouldn't even know how to go out and make a hut in the bush or down the beach or anything nowadays, unless there's an iPad involved.
Yeah. So you can Google it.
No, that's how they play the games.
Hey, Allan, were you around when the quota system came in?
Yeah, I was. I went full time in '85, and the system was '86.
Okay.
A couple of boats I run got history for quota.
Yeah.
But I only run them part times. But yeah.
Has the quota system worked?
I believe so. I know that the fishery of here is reasonably healthy.
Yeah.
In reality, there was too many boats, and they had to do something. For some reason we keep getting by they say it's not, but they wouldn't actually know because they don't come out and see.
If you read a lot of the correspondence, or if you read a lot of the articles around, we're mass killing hector dolphins and birds and God knows what. What's the reality? I mean, you've been doing this for.
I have never caught a hector's dolphin on this coast in my friggin' life, and I've never been on a boat on this coast in my friggin' life that's caught a heap of dolphin.
Incredible, isn't it?
I mean, when Jim Anderton was the Minister of Fisheries, I actually offered to bring Jim out because of the
noise back then.
The bullshit back then.
Yeah.
And in reality, we're political currency. You watch the ship that comes towards the fishermen a year out from election.
Oh, okay.
And this particular government that's back in now obviously showed a soft underbelly to the greenies. And you go back 4 months ago, we had on TV 3 weeks of virtual attacks by Campbell and Co on Channel 1.
Yep.
You know, and I mean, it was so wrong, you know. It just does your head in that they can continually tell lies. I mean, they're not journalists anymore, they're just sensationalists.
Yeah.
A proper journalist looks at both sides of the coin. They don't.
Yeah, and a journalist prints the news, he doesn't actually make the news.
Yeah.
And you know, we get, you'll notice that our papers are full of opinion pieces.
Yeah.
So it's a journalist writing his opinion. And we did, you know, one of the things that I noticed with a number of the fishermen, they were saying, look, did you see this last night? Did you see this? We went through 3 or 4 months of bloody, it was full on, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, no, that's right. And I mean, it's wrong. I'm still the vice president of the Federation of Commercial Fishermen, but we were told not to get into a shit fight with these people. But I think that's wrong. I think we should have come out fighting, but that's my opinion.
Yeah.
Because we were told, and I have seen this to be fair, they can print what they like, we can print something back, we can prove them wrong, and on page 8 of the press we get a 2-inch apology.
That's it.
A week later.
Yeah.
Not, you know.
You've got to look. It's like being in the schoolyard. If there's someone who's walking all over you, you don't hit back. You don't kick back. He's going to walk over you for your whole life.
And now I reckon that, and I think some of this is our own fault.
Yeah.
Because we didn't kick back. Because we were told not to, and I mean, I've been very vocal on my opinion of this all the way through.
Yep.
I'd rather come out fighting and go down fighting than sit back and bend over and drop me pants, because as far as I'm concerned, that's what we've been doing.
What do you think of the suggestion of banning bottom trawling?
What a crock of fucking shit.
It was just crazy, wasn't it?
I can tell you right here and now, out here's mainly sand and mud and shit, mainly sand on the bottom, right?
Yeah.
Now, I've had this discussion with a dock representative of a meeting in Wellington a few years back, and they said we're doing all this damage. Now, I don't know what a double cab weighs. Probably I'd be over a tonne anyway.
Have to be.
Yeah, right. So somebody at Okotik had said a dead seal on the beach, right? So the dockman jumps in his 4-wheel drive, followed by the other 3 dockmen in their 4-wheel drive, and a road to go down and have a look at this dead seal. So it's low tide. They've got wheel marks all the way down the beach in the sand.
Yeah.
They get the dead seal, take it away. The tide comes in, the tide goes out. I defy you to show me where they drove.
Good point.
Right, because...
And so that's where you're coming from bottom dredging.
Yeah, and we've been doing it here since 1900, early 1900s on the coast. And where's all the damage? There's more damage from logs coming down from dockland than there is from bloody... than what we ever do. I mean, in reality... And I mean, if you want to come up, Bruce, when the weather finds up, I'll put our flat net out on the paddock for you and you have a look. It stands half a metre. It's 12 metres across, open, that's the opening.
Yeah.
It stands, this is at the front, half a metre.
And that's it? That's
a flat net. It's got 70 kilo of chain on it. The trawl doors we have towing it are 120, so there's 240 and 70 is 310 kilos. And then we have our sweep, and I can carry the sweep, so... one at a time, so we'll say another 80 kilo. So we'll even add 100 because somebody will call me a liar.
So we're probably around 600 kg.
Yeah.
Are we?
What's the weight of that against the ute?
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't agree more.
You know.
And so and of course the tide comes in, the tide goes out, and the marks are gone.
That's right. You know, and I'm quite happy to pull a net out for you and show you, and you can put it on the camera and just show them. You know, but I mean. You try and talk to a guy in a hard greenie, you're just not going to win. You're not going to win. You know, like, if they ever do a drawing of a net on the bottom, have you ever noticed the net's about 100 metres high?
Yeah.
And there's one big coral clump in front of it. Always a big coral clump.
Yeah.
In reality, if you hit coral with your net, It shreds it.
Yes, yeah,
It
it's no
shreds the
good.
freaking net.
I think that's one of the issues that the industry's got, and the industry's so important in Greymouth and on the coast here. It's one of in actual fact, if you take farming and fishing and mining, they're the things that are going to pay back the country's bloody debt.
Well, I'm going to be over here about 6 days, and this is what they call a 5-year survey. It's your big one: shaft out, sea cocks out, and any major repairs.
Yeah.
I'll be spreading 20,000 around this town in the next week.
Wow.
This is what this bill's going to be to me. That's my bill.
Yep.
I'll be spending around the town. I deal with all our local engineers. As you can see, Alan Devine's boys were here.
Yeah, I saw them there.
And the only thing is we buy paint from Christchurch, the international people. Everything else is sourced here, I mean, the young fella and I go out for a fishing trip. 6 days on average. Our grocery bill, we eat pretty well. It's $350.
Yep.
And
I guess you're putting diesel in it.
Oh, diesel. Yeah. Well, this boat on average trips between 1,800 and 2,000 litres.
Oh, wow. Okay. Right.
We're burning about 15 an hour every hour we're out. And if we're chasing flatfish, we might stop one night out of the 6 nights, otherwise the motor never stops.
Yeah, Alan, you've had a look at the, see the pontoons out there for the new slipway and the developments. It's great to see some money being spent.
I couldn't agree more wholeheartedly on that. I mean, in reality, since about, 1865?
Yep.
The guts has been ripped out the coast for no value back to us.
Yeah, all
whether it be gold, coal or timber.
One way.
All one way. So I think it's time we got something back.
The proposed upgrade to the slipway is taking it up to 200 tonnes.
Yeah.
And right where we are here, this is going to have a big building. And I understand it's 20 metres high or something.
Yeah,
so
17 or 18, yeah.
Yeah, well, that'll make a hell of a difference for you, won't it?
Well, we'll be painting now.
Yeah.
Instead of...
Jeez, it rained last night, didn't it?
Yeah.
Holy mackerel.
Only rains between showers, Bruce.
Yeah, you're right. No. So you'll get it. You'll be covered in.
That's right.
You'll be able to will you be able to sandblast? I suppose you will.
Yeah, there would be conditions. I mean, they're looking at that.
Yep.
The steel boats are more the sandblast. With us, would be spot blasting on the steel A-frame would probably be it for us.
Yeah. And then obviously your painting, your woodwork, your engineering work.
I mean, this little boat, I need $2,000 a day to make money. So if I'm stuck here, like per fishing day.
Yeah.
So if I'm stuck here in a week of bad weather, and then the weather always comes right, and you get the week of good weather,
yeah, I'm
losing $2,000 a day. Well, I'm spending $2,000 a day up here.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So if it's coming in and you come up, you're not always going to pick the bad weather to get up here. But if you get up here in the bad weather, well, it's going to work in your favour, isn't it?
Well, you've picked it right now, haven't you? And so what's happening on the boat at the moment? I see your engine,
Well, as I say, it's the main shaft out, rudder shaft out, propellers heading up to Nelson to be tidied up.
Yeah.
A little bit of wear on the ends of it. With some rusty bolts and that on here. We had there's a list behind you as we're ticking off as we're doing it. You just catch up on everything. And every 5 years your shaft's got to come out. But I come up every year just to check the zincs on the hull and the paint and, tidy up and that.
Alan, why do they take the shaft out?
Crack test it. See if there's any cracks in it. There is the odd guy that's broke a shaft, and there was one boat in particular jumped up the Waikawa. He got up in the morning, pressed the button, put her in gear, and little did he know his propeller had fallen off in the night.
Oh.
So it's this sort of stuff that they're checking for. Yeah.
Over the years, the Tania's been pretty reliable.
Yeah. Well, I think Seba done he took this to the Chathams. I heard he done really well down there with it.
Yeah.
And then when I first seen the boat, his son Frank over in Littleton had it, and it was always a well-known Littleton boat. In fact, I think they might even been in Akara first, and then around Littleton. And then Kevin Winchester bought it. I bought the harvest off Kevin Winchester. He bought the Tania.
Yeah.
And then he sold it to buy the J. Elaine, and then not sure what happened to it after that. But when I come home from Littleton, I'd sold my boat and managed 5 boats for a company for 5 years.
Right.
I decided Well, I was going to do a bit of relieving for people, and I seen this old girl sitting on the wharf looking a bit forlorn. Made them an offer. They wanted a lot more. In the end, I got it for the offer I put in. And it should have been 20 grand cheaper. But anyway.
First offer's always the best.
Yeah, normally. Yeah. I should have been 20 grand cheaper, but, you know, hindsight's a good thing.
Now, Allan, you've got a few years under your belt. If you were giving some advice to a young fella out there about the possibility to enter the fishing industry, how would he do it? What's the best way? Start
on a little boat, in my opinion. Yeah, like I got a guy with me here. He's got a ticket now, and he does relieving for me.
Yeah.
You start them on a little boat. They learn to mend. They learn to splice. They don't have to go to school to do it. They're taught on the vessel.
Yeah.
There's only two of you, so you splice them away. You show them. You're mending a net. You show them. Start off holding the net, and then you're watching them. The skipper lets you have a go, and then sort of brings you along. You learn to do oil changes on the wee boats. You learn to fuel up without a major spillage or anything, you know. So I think the best grounding for young fellas is on the smaller boats first. The only problem is getting less of us.
Yep.
I'm not knocking the school because they mainly teach them everything for going on the bigger boats. But I found some of your best skippers in New Zealand started on the littler boats, right?
Okay.
And worked their way up. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, of course.
From what I've seen.
Yeah. So can a young fella earn a living?
On the right boat. The other thing too is you make sure the vessel you're going on, the guy goes to sea, and you make sure he's you find out that the cryo package is adequate.
Yep.
And you can, you know, I've slowed down a bit, but you know, the Cook Canyon and them guys, I think they're on reasonable money. You know, I mean, way back, I think Basil Piner was probably one of the better players way back in the 80s when I was with old Basil.
What was he like? You know him better than most.
I probably had three good bosses, and I'm not saying this to knock anyone because I'm not.
No.
But I'd like to say the three good bosses in fishing.
Who were they?
And this is no set order.
Yep.
Briggsy, Basil, John Buchanan.
All big, tough men.
Yep. Now Briggsy started under Basil.
Right.
That's when Briggsy.
Okay.
So Briggsy had the Red Witch for Basil about 1964 or 5 or some such. Not long after it was new. No, I just found them fair and fair payers. You know, that's the trick. You get a fair payer, you can. I mean, we've all worked with somebody that's a rip-off.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. That makes it hard, doesn't it?
It does, and you can put a young fella off if he gets, you know, zapped.
The other thing that those three names that you've mentioned there, if you met them in a pub, you'd feel the mana. They've all had, you know, something, and the only word I can use is mana. I can't actually think of anything else.
Well, yeah, no, they all commanded a bit of respect, and the fact they were been there and done it people too.
Yeah.
You know, and that makes the difference when you're dealing with guys that have been there, done it people. I mean, I like Basil, I really did, and I mean, even when I left and was on the recovery and I was on my 10 or 12 days off, I'd go and help him with something. Or I remember the Cavalier, they were having problems with the gear on the Cavalier. I jumped on for a few days because he treated me all right, you know. They were, you know, as I say, I work for other guys, but as I said, there's, you know, I'm not trying to. But if they were the three that I would have picked,
and look, it's people always get embarrassed and say, well, you know, who's the best guy you worked for? And you instantly think, well, if I don't mention this guy here, it's a negative, but it's not. We're just talking about, you know, these particular ones who have got certainly had an impact on the industry, haven't they?
Oh yeah. You know, bloody 6 boats here at one stage.
He was huge.
And then you had John Buchanan or West Bay Seafoods. They had Compass Rose, Jeanette, Corsair, Cascade. I mean, looking back, they were the top earners in Greymouth. Yeah. Peter Egan run that Compass Rose. It was, I always remember John Buchanan, the Fox as we called him, telling me Peter Egan one year made more money than the Prime Minister. And this is back in the, you know, in the earlier days, Crocs made, you know.
Well, a lot of our early fishermen were very wealthy men.
Yeah,
they worked hard, but they also took some some big risks in buying bigger boats and what have you. Alan, what advice could you give to the district council here is the owner of the Greymouth port and the wharfs. We're getting new pontoons to tie up beside. I guess, I haven't really looked at that. Obviously the slipway is being upgraded. The people of Greymouth are so lucky to have this industry here. What advice could you give the Grey District Council to grow the industry, to make it a better place for young people to come and work and to be sustainable long term?
Be proactive with the fishermen. No meetings behind closed doors.
Yep.
Just be proactive. Because there was talk a few years ago of them giving the port up, which, and this is a bit tongue-in-cheek, I'd have been getting hokey dredged if I was you, because it's actually closer to our fishing grounds.
Yeah. Where
we mainly fish.
I know. Well, look, in hokey, we're delighted to see the development starting to occur here.
Yeah.
And wasn't it great to see the lagoon dredged out?
Oh shit, that had to be done. It was getting pretty rugged there,
Yeah.
That was.
And I guess from there's no doubt in my mind that Shane Jones, with a lot of the initiatives that he looked at, and it's hard to keep politics out of it, but I think he's really benefited the port here.
He has, and to be honest, I was a bit of a Shane Jones fan, to be honest.
Yep. Yep.
When you spoke to him, he was down to earth, realistic. I think Jonesy was all right, and he certainly helped us.
I met him 2 or 3 times, and I was really impressed. Yeah. There was no bullshit.
That's right.
It was just all straight up and down.
Yeah, no. As I said, when I done one of them videos for them regional videos, and I said to the guy taking the photo, on the camera, I said, I don't want to hear any shit about him because I'm a bit of a fan. All right.
I love it. Well, look, I guess going forward now, the industry, it's pretty clear from speaking to all the fishermen that the stocks of fish are either constant or growing. Is that a fair comment?
Yes, it is. Yep. No, I think it is. I mean, what happens in fishing is some shithead greenie will see that the cod catch is down.
Yep.
Here for 3 years or 2 years. Oh, they murdered the cod. Cod is water temperature orientated. Most fish are. No feed for them.
Yep.
Like a restaurant. If the restaurant's not open, they're not there.
Yeah, that's it. They go
to elsewhere.
Yeah.
So, and then the year after we hear all the shit that we've murdered them, then there's a big cod year, All fish are like that. I mean, at the moment, in April down here, I was catching, and I won't give the depth, otherwise the hungry humps will come down here and
catch exactly.
It. There's John Dory and snapper out here. We had only half a ton of snapper quota to catch. I'd done it in about 3 days west of the Grey. Kelly's topped it up for me for another half ton, and I was getting up to 5 cases of John Dory with it.
Wow.
Now I can go back 5 or 6 years, and I certainly don't remember the John Dory. I can remember the snapper. And then, of course, they got decimated in the late 70s up in Tasman, Golden Bay area.
Yep.
And there's a perfect one for the quota system. That I can't remember the exact tonnage, 120, 140 allowable tonnes for Area 7, which is north side of Big Bay, down south, North Heads, to north side of the Clarence. It's a bloody big area, and halfway through the Straits, right?
Yeah.
So there was only that allowable catch for that many years. Now they're getting snapper at Haast again on the beach, and Bruce Bay on the beach on their rods.
We're getting them all along here.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's, if people want to say the system doesn't work, then they should really have a look at that, because it does. At the moment, New Plymouth, for example, there's a hard case fisherman up there. He reckons you can, if you fell over, you'd walk on them. He reckons they're that thick up there. I know boats have had to change their headline heights, which is the height the net stands at the moment in Golden Bay, Tasman Bay area, to get under them. Like you drop the flotation on your net, or buy what they called, they've got these scraper nets out there that don't stand anywhere at that height. And this is because they're getting so prevalent, so many of the bloody things that they're trying to go under them to catch the other quota. Jeez. Because what happens is if you're in an area and you've got, say, 50 tonne of gurnet and 20 tonne of snapper, Your snapper used to be a bycatch with your gurnet. Now your snapper's that thick. The guys have had to devise ways to try and get the rest of their gurnet quota without getting the snapper, because the deem value on snappers is $1 zillion. You know, you overcatch that, you'll get a bill at the end of the month and make you cough. So, you know,
beautiful fish though.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, no, oh, yeah, they are. But I mean, before the quota system, we used to raffle a few.
those are the days.
Yeah, but nowadays you're not allowed.
and you could get the odd crayfish as well.
Oh well, this is right.
Alan, you ever fish for crayfish?
No, I've never. But we can catch them in places in the trawl. But we've got to put them straight back in. It's illegal for us without quota to bring them home.
Okay.
Bloody, it's a pity.
That's the way it goes. Now, have you ever had any experience of? I've read a couple of times about crayfish migrating. Have you ever seen that, or you know?
I've heard of it. No, I've never seen it in my time, but I know. Well, this is going back a story. Briggsy paid for a house in Cobden when he was married. He ran on one of the migrations, so it must have been in the late '60s with the Red Witch. They just call it the march. When they're on the march, and they
must have been huge.
Oh yeah, no, that's right. And then you could follow them up the coast because they'll be moving all the time. You know? Yeah, and you go back, like he's dead now. Phil Prendergast had the Georgina, and old Maury Harlan that day. Old Jack Kelly was another one here. Super bloody. What a man, and Freddie Newman. They all towed for crays down Jackson's Bay way.
Oh, so they didn't use pots, they just towed for them?
They started, well, they first run on them, from what I understand, on trawls.
Wow.
Henry Buchanan, old Henry, he was a character.
Yeah.
And he was, you know, I used to have a bit to do with Henry, and he was telling us a bit about it them days. And he said, he used to say, like, there's a lot of reef and bad ground down there, and I used to say to him, you know, like they worked it out on landmarks. I said, for example, and this is a classic, I got told, when you come out of the Arnott, under Knight's Point, and we'd shoot in sight 16 fathom. It was the third waterfall over the Red Shed, which was, I think it was Nolan's wool shed down on the Haas.
Right.
That's all very good unless it's been raining. There's 300 fucking waterfalls. Which one's the third one? But they were the marks.
And so when you were fishing down there, you must have had John Cowan, Big Egg.
Yeah.
He'd have been there.
Yeah. Bloody whenever I knew who John Cowan was. And I knew Kerry through Peter because, you know, Peter owned part of West Bay Seafood, so I knew Pete, and he made all their nets. But, yeah, no, she's a... I don't think it's changing for the better with all the shit that we're taking now, you know. That there's an iPad. That there, when we go over the bar, before we leave, we're going to press a button on that thing there.
Yep.
And that shows exactly where we are. So every 10 minutes it's pinging. I had to buy 8. I had to buy, that was $1,700 with a system in it. I had to buy 8 gigs of phone a week.
Oh, yeah,
to run it. Yeah. A month, sorry. And every 10 minutes it's just pinging to say where we are. Now Math have got an office in a Lower Hutt, I think it is. Shows every boat where it is, every second of the day fishing. And then once we get past Okarito and your cell phones don't go, we've got to pay for a satellite because it pings a freaking satellite.
It'd be expensive too.
No, yeah, no, it is. It's getting worse. I can afford 40 grand for a camera. That'd be me out.
The cameras are a bit of a nonsense, aren't they? I mean,
well, they are a nonsense. We've got this. There's only a few of us left now.
Yeah.
This says where we are. If there's any dumping or any fish come up the beach, they know exactly what boats were there.
And you know, when you look at the number of boats that are registered and you say, okay, we're going to put cameras on, who's going to monitor them?
Well, then that's another empire. They'll have to get a bigger building, 24/7, probably at least 40 people.
Yeah, gotcha. It'll be at least that.
That's one shift, and then you got 40 on your next shift.
But it'll be all right. They'll all have a university degree. Or some of them will.
Yeah, and what? Camera watching.
Yeah, that's it. Camera watching.
Yeah.
Hey, Alan, what's it like from the family's point of view? What's the wife and children of a fisherman? You know, how do they go? Are you out all the time, or are you?
When I was on the bigger boats, I was, and the wives get used to it. But I'll tell you what, later in life, you do notice. Like my oldest son lives in Christchurch. when he rings up, he says, how you going? His mum home?
I gotcha.
That's about the conversation. How you going? His mum home?
Yeah, well, look, mums are often pretty close to their sons, aren't they?
Yeah, and I mean, so one of the reasons I bought this, I got their grandsons now I like, and always with the holidays, if I want to spend a week with them before Jason, that's my crew now, come along, I just tie up because I spent not a lot of time with my own two sons, you know. Yeah. So I put a bit of time into the grandkids.
Did you notice that when the grandkids come along, the depth of feeling you've got as a grandfather is pretty intense, isn't it?
Tell you want to kick their asses.
Yeah, it is. Well, you know,
it is.
It's quite intense because, you know, when we're bringing the kids up, we're pretty much out making money and paying the house off and doing all those things. Whereas now, you know, you've got a bit of time, you've got a bit of spare cash, and it just makes it a little bit easier, doesn't it?
It does, you know. And I mean, they come over. I got a couple of paddocks up there where we're just out on Moana, and I mow I put them in the bucket of the tractor, and they tell me where to mow, and then they jump on their 70cc Hondas and charge around on them. They were ball.
Oh, I love it.
You know, the Christchurch kids, I've taught them to shoot slug guns. Their mother went mad because they were driving the tractor. But
that's look at what are they? 6 or 7, 8?
8.
Oh,
well, they were 7 and 8. Now they're 8 and 9.
Oh, they should be driving.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, it's a coast thing. Gotta do it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, mother didn't think so. But anyway, but yeah.
And so, Alan, in the cockpit here, what have we got?
A C-plot system. This is all the trawls we do in different areas.
Yeah.
Automatic pilot. VHF.
Yep.
Radar. That's a UHF. 3 boats, we've got them for fishing close together.
Right.
Another VHF. GPS.
You got some gear here.
Yeah. Single sideband. Colour sounder. And that's for playing videos.
Oh, the video games?
Oh, no, don't play video games. No, music videos when we're on the anchor. I like music videos.
Oh, I love it. I love the sound of it.
Yeah.
Well, can we have a look at it on the deck and just see?
Yeah,
I mean, you know.
We normally run 2 nets, a flat net, and the top roller has a wing trawl on it. And because we're doing survey, there's no trawl doors or no nets or anything here. We don't have a spare net down here. Because if you're going south, I wouldn't go without 3 nets. Because your GD stages logs keep getting us.
Oh, those ones that they keep throwing down those rivers.
Yeah.
Oh, that's got to be deliberate. I mean, it's friggin' deliberate.
I believe so. I think we should be able to charge them for them.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Any damage because they're quick to charge us and accuse us of skip.
Yeah.
Any logs come down, go through the net. We should get a photo of that log. It's got dock on it. They should pay.
Oh, look, I'm loving the sound of it. Now, listen, when I came up this morning, it was fine in Hokitika, and we're in Greymouth here. And have you ever noticed it always rains in Greymouth?
Lately it has, though. Certainly not going to argue with that.
and I nearly had to put my car in 4-wheel drive to get out of my drive because we had so much friggin' rain at home. It's just amazing.
Yeah.
So the net goes out the back there.
Yep.
And we go from there. Wow.
Got the net back in, got the fix there, then we normally clean it, cut it, stack it here,
and then down to the cooler. Well, coasters, I'm on board the Tania. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, I just say Tania or Tania.
Tania today, and I'm with Allan Rooney. We've had a series of interviews here today, and they'll be played on the Coasters Club over the next 2 or 3 weeks. You'll enjoy it. It's got some interesting views. Alan, thanks so much for taking the time to invite me on board, get your ideas on a few things. You're a bit of a down-to-earth sort of a man, aren't you?
Sad as I see it.
Sad as I see it. We'll leave that where it is, Coasters, and we'll catch you later.